So I just wanted to welcome people along to our Legacy Links event. I'll just recap to say that tonight is really all about starting to reconnect some of our award winners with some wider support opportunities. We've got some invited guests who have been championing and supporting social entrepreneurship behind the scenes on this programme and within their own organisations that we'll say a bit shortly. And we've got various award winners who will be saying a bit about what they do, and I've got a wider list as well for people who couldn't be here tonight to just showcase as well. So we'll do, I thought we'd kind of keep it simple, very simple agenda. Introductions, starting off with showcasing the award winners, and for those of you that are here, we can have you say a bit about your own stuff, and then moving then on to some of our invited guests to say a bit about what they're up to, and we'll also spend a little bit of time just mapping some thoughts on other agencies that would be helpful for the kinds of projects and the kinds of people that we've supported to the best of our knowledge and ability. We're hoping it's going to bring some insights to new innovations and enterprises for the guests that we've got here and anyone listening again that we'll share this with. We're hoping it's an opportunity for some mutual support, certainly in terms of connection building and getting new contacts around things. And, you know, as I said earlier, you know, hope for the future that although the programme that we've been running in partnership with Big Local and obviously One Palfrey Big Local through this programme, that things don't fall off a cliff. There's lots of agencies and people and pathways to growing and developing your projects, businesses and organisations. So I think I will come to, and forgive me, these slides you're going to see next are going to hurt your eyes. I'm not expecting you to read these. They're there for me as a prompt. But it was just, we've got a little summary of the people who we've supported, but perhaps I might go through them in order just so we know where we're at, and then I'll invite Ebony and Safina and potentially a couple of others who are joining us this evening to just say a little bit about their own organisation. So in terms of who we've awarded, there was obviously in the region, well, there's £50,000 of awards gone out, and then other match funds to similar values from the partners involved to cover the running costs of running the programme. But £50,000 has been awarded to a range of people. I think it's around 11, we'll top them up, around 11 individuals to evolve their ideas, where people have got entrepreneurial solutions to social issues. And first award was Zafar, and he has set up something called Zico Futsal. He got the full £5,000 because it was somewhat established at the time of starting, and through the programme has accessed and supported in the region of 100 children. The majority of those, or over half of those, are around the Palfrey area, but I think through COVID, things obviously slowed down a little bit and had to be mothballed up for a little while. But to my knowledge, he's evolving what he's doing and looking at continuing to connect back into Palfrey to continue what he's doing. We've got a lady called Zainab. Zainab was training up in yoga at the time of being awarded. She actually ended up changing quite a bit of her idea in the process of all of this. So Zainab, while she was going to be doing yoga for older people and always had an interest in healthy eating, through COVID and getting hold of people and thinking about how to adapt the work, she's actually shifted more to the healthy eating side and developed a partnership with another individual to look at more of like a healthy eating and juicing business. And that's the beauty of like unlimited awards and working in partnership with people like the Big Local, is we understand that people's projects evolve, and what you start off with might not be what you end up with. And there's a couple of cases of that actually, but we've been really impressed with how resilient people have been. It's been a very difficult time for everybody, not least you know, in and around the Palfrey area, and also with what's been going on behind the scenes for people. So the fact that the majority of the award winners we've had have stuck with what they're doing, are pushing forward and have adapted things, we've been really impressed with. Just quickly moving on to Ramila. So Ramila's one who had probably one of the toughest challenges trying to take a project idea forward. she's a teacher. She works in the education system, and she and her sister have a fantastic concept for creating alternative education provision, basically. Holiday clubs beyond the school day, and wanted to develop their own centre. I would say they were one that has had one of the most sort of setbacks in pushing forward in terms of managing, life, day job, and trying to set up a project like that at a time when all venues have been closed has been really fiddly. But I'm pleased to say I am in contact with Rumela. We are working through some thoughts and some options as to kind of, is there a kind of final kind of trial that she can develop in order to be able to progress some of this and adapt. Sometimes award winners can be quite rigid about how they want to run their project. I think Rumela and her sister were quite adamant they wanted a venue, and I don't think that's been straightforward. And so looking at how they can do more digital support or create small family learning opportunities in different ways is going to be key for her. Ebony, we've come to a real live person, so I don't know if now's a good time and you're there behind the mic.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Ebony. Do you want to speak for yourself, love, and perhaps just a bit of an overview of how things have been for you this past year? I know it's been challenging, but we've been really impressed with what you've achieved.
Yeah, being funded by Big Local and UnLtd was great. For us, in a sense, it was really convenient that we'd done it just before the pandemic, because it just meant that we had, I had the funds to set everything up, and obviously found that the need for what I was offering was really it was really timely. Obviously, there was a period of oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But actually, I think in the Walsall community, making the connections that we did with One Walsall, and they're very helpful and forthcoming with information. Yeah, we've been able to sort of carve out a space for us. And one of my proudest moments was when people are we're coming to you instead of the CAB because they're taking so long. And they're a great family. It's not throwing them under. But yeah, it was really really
you offer a really holistic approach to what you're doing. And you've worked really hard to build trust with lots of different people at a time where things were really difficult, to try and set this business up at any time, let alone through a pandemic, to get people to open up about their mental health needs and their financial support needs. It's been
but I actually
make a success of it now. You can make a success of it any time, I would hope.
Yeah. But in a weird way, I think it went in our benefit, because I think mental health was such a hot topic. I think it was something that actually we could no longer deny. And so actually those people in the community that might have been a lot more reluctant, I find that I'm just getting into more and more conversations with people now, which is great. Obviously, I started mine with lived experience. I'd worked in mental health for years, but until I'd experienced it for myself, I don't think I had a full understanding of what mental health was. So I think even that really, it really helps to build the holistic approach that we have. And obviously, that's one of the difficulties I have, sort of building a team. Yeah. You were just talking about rigidity. Because when it's your baby, then okay, what staff do you hire and things like that. But yeah, really, really just still feeling grateful that you and our fan that day really understood my vision, because I was very early in it, wasn't I, when I came into you guys? But I think you could see the passion was there. So yeah, and
the commitment in it all. And I know this description that we've got here on the screen for anyone who's got good eyesight is quite out of date now, because I know that you secured your awards for all. You've secured other funding as well from another funding agency that was supporting sort of Black-led organisations. And so you've done quite well in terms of securing additional resources to progress things. And you've recently got onto the School for Social Entrepreneurs. I think it's at the Trade Up programme as well. So all guns blazing.
That's going to be really nice, considering sort of we're going to come to an end to a degree. So feeling blessed and all is well. So thank you so much, guys, between all of you.
Absolutely. I wonder, just because I know we've got our invited guests here, and I'm not sure how long we've got them for, and we'll kind of rattle through, but I wondered if you've got any particular questions for Ebony, because we've only got a couple of people so far. I wonder if I don't know whether Victor or David have got any questions for Ebony, because obviously you might have come across these projects before, or you'll be working with people in running similar things. I just wonder whether you've got any questions, any tips, any thoughts, rather than keep you quiet behind your screens.
I've bothered David quite a bit.
I know. I suppose I've got no questions for Ebony. I mean, I always know Ebony, but she's always on the move. So she often, particularly at the beginning, she always attended meetings on the move. So but she's been great, and you know,
settle down though. You should settle down a bit, although things are growing.
I think they can't. What Ebony's done, you know, she's proved that networking and making connections will get you somewhere. You know, you have to go out and push yourself and show yourself to everybody. And I think Ebony's a perfect example of, you know, when there's been opportunities to network, she's taken them, and I think that got her known.
Yeah, and I think we've got a little. You won't be able to see it here, but when I was googling your logo to stick in the in the presentation, Ebony, it reminded me that as well as the kind of practical and the business side to what you're doing, you've been quite a lobbyer as well to. Like this little slide here says, you know, you mind picked up on the work that you were doing, and you've been able to influence them to some degree through being linked to them. And this quote, you know, it says, you know, the benefit system should take into account the mental health of the people they deal with. And so that lobbying and that sort of trying to get people's voices through has been a big part of what you've been doing as well. So there's also,
and I think in the text you got here about working with Amrit, I think again that partnership working. I think Ebony's, to me, there's a number of groups in Walsall, and I have to say quite a few of them have originated from Palfrey, probably through some of your programme, that are really, really positive, and it's younger people who've got a real enthusiasm and a real wish to make a difference, and it's exciting. It really is, and they're coming together. So, you know, they're doing all the right things. I really hope that they will, you know, in the longer term succeed, because it's really good to see.
Yeah. And we've got a little bit of time to plan some additional stuff, but I know back quite early on when we had a handful of award winners who were ready to hit the ground running, and some of them had already were doing that. Particularly Amrit was quite developed in terms of his experience of some of what he was trying to do, but it was kind of knitting it all together. We ran a day with Ebony and with Sabina, who's also on the phone, and her business partner Zuleika, and obviously Ebony, to road test things so that people started to see how they could work together. I would say, you know, through COVID and various lockdowns, things went a little bit awry in terms of being able to repeat that kind of health and wellbeing day that we trialed, but you know, the intention's still there for some of that stuff, and actually people have picked up their own relationships anyway, sort of behind the scenes. Victor, and you're off mute there, so I thought I'd just see whether there's anything you any questions for Ebony, or any thoughts, anyone you're working with in other parts of the country that would be helpful. I don't know.
You know, it's just a pleasure to meet you, Ebony, and hear what you're doing. It's interesting, we supported somebody in Birmingham who's actually dealing with employability. They run the job clubs in a number of the big local areas, and they quickly identified that it wasn't just about finding a job, it's about the mental health and well-being around the trauma of being no income, low income, and the everyday managing on what small budgets they have. So I may well link you with that person to have a conversation. Not that we'll steal it from Walsall, but yeah, there is a demand. Your service, the timing now is beautiful. So well done. That's it. Nothing more to say. Well done.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that connection.
And I know Ebony's come, because the beauty of these lockdowns has been, you know, can be anywhere in the world, can't we, on any given day in our minds, or for real, like our fans there out in America as we speak. So I think through Flourish, where I operate, you know, our organisation up in Manchester, Ebony has zoomed into a couple of events and made a few connections up in the north there. And I was just going to quickly mention while it's on my mind, I've just secured some money to develop that financial resilience program I was talking about a while ago, so I will be in touch. I'm sure there's a way to involve you and have you deliver some workshops there, so that's a by the by. Moving on, because I know time sort of will get the better of us. I thought Amrit was going to be here. I thought Zuleika would be as well, so I'm surprised they're not. I don't know what's holding them up, but anyway, I will quickly speak for them just to say, Amrit, you know, a lot of people here will have come across, he's a man about town. He's certainly, you know, like Ebony has been out and about, and we have seen him, you know, evolve what he's doing into a range of products and services. Things are evolving. Again, this is somewhat, I out of date now, and even more has evolved since. But he's certainly, in terms of impact and engagement and how he's been able to secure new work, you know, it's been really impressive and really encouraging to see. And Amrit's been really quite generous, you know, of his time and his experience with other award winners as well. And, you know, we'll be encouraging that over the coming months as we continue. Obviously, Meta Minds is an organisation that, you know, is predominantly about health and well-being, whilst there's a load of Tai Chi sort of training and development, and that's one of the vehicles that he uses for engaging with people to improve their mental health and their lifestyle. He's got a range of other health and wellbeing services that is evolved, and he's also become trained up in kind of mental health first aid training, so we can offer that train the trainer support as well as those sorts of courses. So multiple income streams to push things forward and seek future contracts off. So he's going in the right direction. Zuleika, developing Pickle Shack. Again, pandemic hit her hard. She was both working full time, family commitments, you name it, everything was thrown at her. But again, done brilliantly in the respect that it's all working. You know, this weekend she's back up at Levenshulme Market. Again, another plug for the north. Seems like it's a long way, doesn't it? But there's a social enterprise market just on the outskirts of Manchester, and she's been building her confidence selling her goods there. She's been selling them to local families. She's been creating platters. She's been, so she's been testing and trialing what she's doing. She's now done a whole range of courses to build her confidence around being prepared to develop this business that she's trying to run, and she's found a couple of other people to join forces with, and is looking at taking on some you know, kitchen premises beyond her own home, so that things become more manageable as things start to grow. So you know, really pleased with what she's been doing, and she has catered for us, and we'd gladly have her cater for us again if we get another real world event out there, because the food's fantastic, between the pickles and the chutneys and the fruit kebabs and all sorts of other things. So no, she's been doing well. Moving on to another real world person, we've got Sabine here. So you've had a year and more of it, and it'd be lovely to hear a little bit about, you know, where you're up to with Safina in developing what you're doing, because obviously Marble Health and the concept, you know, is fantastic. Do you want to say a little bit about what you've been doing and how you're taking things forward?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, the reason we both decided to set off in trying to do something ourselves is because we're both really, really passionate, particularly about supporting older people. My background and Safina's background, it's a broad range of, you know, experience. So, for example, between us, we've got over 22 years in housing. That's housing advice, tenancies, supporting, you know, shelter schemes and things like that. Benefits advice, general advice and information. If it relates to particularly people 50 plus, you know, we've got a wealth of experience in everything in terms of related to older people. And I think we just reached a point where we thought, you know, why don't we do something ourselves where we don't have like boundaries or like red tape, or, you know, we can actually be holistic. We can tailor it very much to how older people would want a service delivered to them. So that was our whole aim, to try and, you know, start something, an organisation that may start off small, but actually because of the, you know, wealth of experience between us, we could look at many forms of support for older people.
And the huge demand. I mean, there's huge significant demand for what you're looking at.
Yeah, and I think for us, obviously when COVID hit, there was obviously a few little setbacks for us, but our, you know, ambition is to still to try and really network, build relationships up, hopefully try and tie in with some big contracts, because, you know, for example, like, you know, we've worked with CCGs before, housing, health and social care, and I'm just hoping that our experience and our, like we've talked about benefits, for example, financial resilience, that's another area of our expertise, like budgeting, financial advice, benefits advice, you know, appealing decisions, online digital support to customers, and that includes like dealing with all types of disabilities as well, and including mental health. So I think we are at a point now where we're like kind of ready to kind of really push it forward and really work on our networking and looking at some further funding bids, to try and see if we can secure something where we're recognised, even though we're not like an established organisation, but they, you know, for example, we get recognised for the skills and wealth of experience that we actually bring in there, and hopefully, you know, we deliver services to meet older people's expectations.
Absolutely. And I think I know when we've walked through some of the case studies of the people that you have been supporting, and I know when you and Safina have both done quite a bit through the pandemic in terms of the mutual aid work that was out there to build your networks and contacts. Hopefully those relationships and that not only your work experience track record, but the kind of boots on the ground sort of work that you've been doing will help build that. I know it's not been plain sailing getting funding bids together and getting the sort of plan or timeline in place as you might have imagined, but you know, from here on in, I think, you know, there's some great options for that, and there's still time to support you with your, you know, bid writing thinking and other things which we'll be ploughing on with over the next couple of months. I don't know whether Victor or David have got any reflections or are aware of stuff to do with either funding or options or connections that might be helpful for people who are working with older people.
Yeah, I was going to say to Zabina and to Ebony as well, that we're running an event on the 1st of December. It's going to be a voluntary sectors celebration event for organisations because we recognise that over the COVID period, lots of groups haven't physically come together. So COVID permitting, it's going to be a sort of face-to-face event where you can have a market stall and promote what you do. So that would be really good. And I am aware of other groups, other new groups as well as Zabina in Walsall. I think I can link you with. So
excellent.
After this meeting, I will have some conversations, and if you're happy for me to pass your details on,
that would be brilliant. Thank you.
I think there's other groups that do similar stuff to you that you might be worth speaking to.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
But certainly we're going to put the stuff out soon in our newsletter. I think do you get our newsletters at the moment?
By email, yes, yeah, we do.
So look out for it, because I think an event like that will be really good. We're hoping to get loads of groups there, so it'll be a real opportunity for you to promote the name and yourselves. As you say, it's yourselves who are the selling point, isn't it? Marble health and social care won't mean much to people, but the skills that you've both got will.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So,
and I think people always remember you by face, don't they? Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
And I think there may well be lots of people who've popped up to try and support older people and do all sorts in recent times with a kind of, you know, active aging agendas and various things, and just the genuine needs of older people that are out there. But not everybody's got that unique selling point for having that experience that you have in terms of work. And
also been worth linking you up with the Kindness Champions of Walsall Housing Group and the Citizens Advice Bureau. They've got a van called Casper that comes into the park every week. They've seen the most amount of people here than they have in the whole of Walsall. So worth linking up with them. So I'll do introductions for those two tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be great. Because I think one of my, initial fears was around, when we provide advice, I always assumed you had to have the full accreditations. To be fair, I do, because I currently still work in advice. But now I realise that you actually can give, like, for example, a starting off point, like the basic and generic advice without the full accreditations. But now that obviously with my current job, I've really secured all the accreditations again anyway. I think I feel more confident that I've got the right qualifications in place to meet hopefully any funding bids as well, to look at advice side of it in a bit more specialist role, with the marble health and social care.
Victor, any thoughts from yourself? I know UnLtd has sort of a strategic priority around this. I don't know to what extent that's being pushed at the moment, but any thoughts or any observations of other ventures?
Well, just I'll let everyone get in first. There's so much good advice being thrown at you. You're doing well. What I would say is that within UnLtd, we have obviously a focus on strategy for an aging society. So I would imagine Roland is worth linking you up with. Well, Roland is our lead officer for that piece of work in UnLtd. So
that's good to know. I can easily make an introduction there, and at least whether there's physical programs or physical cash, he'd be able to tell you. But certainly they've supported a plethora of people working in this field. So even if they can connect you into some of their peer support networks or connect you with other people like yourself working with older people through their business models, and there's some options.
Sabine, how far are you working? Is it just within Palfrey, or are you working further across?
We've always kept it wider, as in it can be Palfrey, Walsall and across Midlands, West Midlands. Okay. I won't scare you too much at the moment. But I think one thing I realised during COVID was because you can provide so much support remotely by phone. And I actually, in my paid employment, actually it was quite interesting because our employer, they'd actually just started a new contract around reducing, nothing to do with my particular job, but reducing social isolation. And actually that was really, really successful remotely. So I think it made me think bigger, thinking you can actually provide support to a wider audience. But yeah, our starting point, our obviously key, loyalty funding is in Palfrey, but we would like to support as many older people as possible.
I was going to say, what you need to do when have you got your legal status as it? Are you a CIC, or are you looking to become a social enterprise as a legal structure? Or
yeah, so at the moment we're an unincorporated group kind of thing, association, but we're going to go towards a SIC, community interest company.
What I'd advise you to do is try and link up with the doctors, surgeries. They've got social prescribing as one of the ways forward to getting funding for actually specifically providing care for individuals, as well as look at the CCG, the Clinical Commissioning Group for NHS. Again, they're doing a lot more work in the community, trying to keep people healthier in the community longer before they need to end up, I suppose it's called bed blocking. The NHS is stretched at the moment. They've realized that care in the community, supporting the community, keeps people healthier longer. And so you may well find there's some little contracts to be tendered for, or some funding that they do have available occasionally. So do check with the NHS what they're doing for the clinical commissioners who do all the stuff in communities.
Yeah, excellent.
Thanks for that, Victor. Because you've just reminded me, Dave, would it be worth Sabina linking up with Angela Harvey?
Well, Angela, you mean Angela Aitken? Making
Harvey.
connections?
Angela Harvey?
Her work's more around keeping people active, physical activities. But I think our fan, rather than, we could link her up with Angela Harvey, but I think Angela Aitken, who works at the council in public health, and the council run a project called Making Connections, which is all around supporting older people. I think that would be useful for her to be aware of you.
Yeah.
I'll send you her email. They operate mainly out of, they deliver the services through 4 main hubs. And I'm not sure to what extent they have contracts available for other supporting groups, but I think if she's aware that you exist, I think there may be opportunities for some funding. We have there's big issues in Walsall around funding the very small groups and around social prescribing, because CCG seems to want to keep all the money for themselves, and they're quite happy to fund social prescribers, but not the organisations that actually do the doing, which is a big issue that we're trying to advocate on behalf of the small groups like yourself, like Ebony, that the groups doing the delivering need money as well.
Yes.
I think just to add to that, really, what you'll find with social prescribing is that the client decides how they spend their money. So hence why I said do connect with the managing service for the doctor's surgery group. Most of them are in groups these days. I don't know who's over there, but you'll find most doctor's surgeries work within a kind of a locality setting. They will know where the money is, and the money follows the client. So if someone you're dealing with requires some support, then they can really request the money is spent via you providing a service for them. So, but do check it out. You'll see that there is some opportunity there, definitely.
Every area is a slightly different way, haven't they? They're at varying stages of having the kind of services and opportunities corralled in a format that people can actually make informed choices and have a diversity of kind of options. That something to think about and look at there. Fab. I shall roll on, because I know we want to get on to hear a little bit more from Dave, Victor, and Arfan, hopefully. So the one thing I will just say, Zabina, is I've been having a think, and I do know a former colleague who's working. I've just realised I sent you an email earlier. Somebody who I'm going to make connections with. I'm not sure whether their housing association works predominantly in the right patch, but they are Birmingham. They do have a Birmingham patch and footprint, or a Midlands footprint. So it's definitely worth seeing if we can get you in to have some conversations with them.
So thank you.
That's all right. Moving on. So we've got Deborah Pace, again another teacher who we've scooped up through this. Another entrepreneur who's now looking at how to evolve educational work in more diverse ways. Her passion is around looking at sort of homeschooling on various levels, both homeschooling for children that need full-time homeschooling, but also wider tutoring and homeschooling educational options. Initially, she was looking at doing almost like a piece of consultancy and sort of research into the feasibility of what she might like to do. But as time's rolled on, she's kind of come into her own with her own thoughts and ideas around this. It's been really encouraging to see her taking a lead on this rather than commission somebody in. I think that there's a combination of things that are going to happen in order for her to sort of deliver what she wants. But in her most recent conversations, I know that she's now starting to think about how she's going to pilot her ideas, looking at working in partnership with somebody else who's also in education and working with young people to really create quite an ambitious plan. The double act that they're forming seems to be quite fortuitous in terms of Deb's experience and the business partner that she's looking at taking on board with that. So she's starting to prepare now to speak to families and trial this work after quite a difficult year with the education system being so swamped with what they had to do, this being like an additional aspect. But there's certainly the need for homeschooling and the need for better quality education tools and resources beyond the classroom has been ever prevalent, hasn't it, through the last year. So the need for what she's doing is certainly ramping up. We've then got the lovely Stella here, unfortunately not here tonight. I think she's gone overseas. When I last spoke to her just a week ago, and she was sorry that she can't make things this week, but she had quite a small amount of money really, but has really pushed forward with her organisation where she's supporting predominantly women to think about their money matters, their lifestyle, making healthy choices. She's somebody who's obviously been collaborating with Ebony because they've got similar goals, but perhaps different audiences and different facets to the work they do. And I know that Stella, although she was one of the more recent ones to be supported, has now constituted her organisation, is looking at her funding options. And again, it's somebody who's quite proactive in wanting to link and network and really get out to support people. A lot of what she's been doing has been online. She's got quite a lot of skills in being able to, both put information and content out through YouTube, as well as various blogs and information on a website. So her format and her style has worked well in the current climate, and will hopefully continue to do so. And I'm working with her now to look at how and where she might start resourcing wider aspects of what she's doing. But many strings to Stella's bow, and she's pushing out in all directions to see where that's going to take her. And then I think have I got a couple missing? I'm just realised. But anyway, we've got Mohammed. So Mohammed Kassaji, great guy, all sorts of experiences, and he's been looking at how he can help people through recruitment and consulting services to get people on a different career pathway, really up their game, basically remove glass ceilings and help people achieve their potential quite quickly. He's upskilled himself in the wonderful world of social enterprise, and he's gone on and set up a community interest company. He's starting to look at applying for various funds, but he's also got a range of services that he's charging for. He was already doing quite a bit of private work around the sort of CV writing, workshops, educational employability and skills stuff. And so he's building on that to grow the not-for-profit side of what he's doing. And he told us at the last support trainings day that we had that he was offered a really good, quite high paid job that he's rejected in order to throw himself full time at his social enterprise. So brave man, and we need to make sure we support him to achieve all that he wants to do. But he's certainly got, the skills, the charisma and the networks to make it happen. So we'll keep supporting and plugging away there. A couple here that I could have sworn they were on my list, but they're not there. Where are they? I've not cut and pasted them. So there's two more. So Imrana has not been able to get here, but Imrana's developed a series of products and tools, educational tools. So Imrana had already delivered some stuff. The sort of iMatter project that she's developed around Walsall, supporting young people and children to talk about taboo subjects and work with schools and youth groups to tackle all sorts of things, be it, you know, to do with criminal justice, antisocial behaviour, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And she's really evolved that and created some fantastic products where she's used her award to prototype various sort of games and these kind of puppets and all sorts, basically using traditional games that people might use, like snakes and ladders, or other games that are recognised, but adapting them to tackle taboo subjects. She's gone on to be commissioned to run workshops and use these tools in another big local area, and she's also been having some good progress with people locally now as well, in terms of developing what she's doing and working with local schools. So although it was a kind of fiddly start and, you know, juggling multiple things, being part of the big local as well as trying to lead her own venture, she's really pushing forward with what she's doing now. Set up a community interest company and looking at the possibilities that creates for her, you know, for the future, and creating jobs and work for others as well. And last but not least, we've got Chris. Chris, often out and about in Palfrey Park, was awarded to do a few things to maintain, sustain and continue some of the good work that he's been doing in the park. And also to come up with new ideas for educational activities, developing his skills to better look after and perhaps potentially offer landscaping or maintenance work in future to not just the park but to other areas. I know he's had a fiddly year. He's had a lot going on with his own health through the pandemic, and he's definitely, as far as we know, back out in the park doing various things and just taking is you know, a steady pace really at what he's trying to do. Quite a diverse group of people, obviously, who we've supported here, but all progressing and all moving forward with what they're doing. I have been speaking with Razwan as well. He's not on here, but we've got Razwan, who's looking at a kind of bin cleaning and sort of maintenance services. Again, had a really fiddly year, but I'm pleased to say we've reworked his budget through, and that's going to progress. He's looking at using his award money, it's about £2,500, to do more feasibility work and promotional work. Initially, he was looking at trying to use some of that money to physically get out there and get cracking. But I think with the pandemic and a few setbacks that he's had himself, taking that time to really do the research, build the connections and advertise the services well, is what's going to help him and get the money spent in the time that we need it to be, so that he can sort of progress with this and connecting with people around Palfrey and surrounding areas to offer these sort of bin cleaning services. He's very keen to be setting up a community interest company and looking at a not-for-profit model around what he's doing, and building a sense of sort of community connection through going door to door and offering these practical services around people's homes. So we'll see how that unfolds over time. So we've given you a flavour there of who's been progressing and who's on the radar. I was just going to come over to our guest really. Obviously there's a whole bundle of wider agencies out there. Clearly we've got Victor and David on the call today, and there's a bunch of other people who I've been making connections with, and obviously have been linked to Arfan and his work for some time, like Margaret, the local trust, and others. So although we've not got bundles of people here on a call this evening, we've got other routes to plugging you into different people. So Victor, shall I come to you first?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the slide down for a minute just so we can see people and see you, and I'll pop this slot back up in a second.
Yeah. Well, you know something, it's right now there's a chance, it's sad, but there's an opportunity for people to be more innovative and actually do some really nice things for their community. There's been some gatekeepers in the past who've blocked progress for the smaller person with an idea, but I think lots of corporations, lots of private companies I say corporations because if you look at their website, some of them have got a CSR, a corporate social responsibility policy. I'd like to encourage you, the area of work you're actually involved in, if you see some of the big companies who are supplying, do try and get hold of them. Now, it ties back to 2012 when they brought out the Social Value Act. And any companies who have a contract with local authority, have a contract with NHS, anyone providing service to a government-funded contract, they have a responsibility to basically demonstrate their social value. What's happening now, quite a few of those companies haven't done so, but they are looking to get involved with social enterprises or with charities or working within communities. So I'll say to you, have a look at your area of interest, have a look at some of the big companies. If you are doing it from a social value point of view, it really is worthwhile looking and seeing what's possible. The other bit is that you've got I know Walsall got One Walsall, but if you work in Black Country, also look at what's happening for the CVS in Wolverhampton, CVS in Dudley, because they have a lot of information about small grant funding. They have a lot of information about other organizations who you can network with, who may be similar, who may value your service. So that's important. Keep looking at the UnLtd website. We've got some possible funding coming through in January. I'm not allowed to say anything, so you haven't heard anything from me, but there's some more funding coming through in January. So it may be worthwhile looking because you may qualify for that funding. And again, looking at the West Midlands, again, you've got Black Country, but you've also got the combined West Midlands Combined Authority. And they have lots of pockets of funding available, as well as training and support. I think they've also got information on happening things with the Commonwealth Games. You may say, well, the Commonwealth Games got nothing to do with itself, but one of the legacy stuff they want to see happening is that there's more social enterprise, more small organizations who could benefit by perhaps continuing services afterwards. I'm thinking about things even to do with the football and things to do with health. It all matters because it isn't just about the games being played next year. It's about how do you tie the community in and keep the community spirit going with all that rebuilding that's necessary after the pandemic. So I'm keeping it short and sweet by saying, yeah, check out the CVS's voluntaries, the Community Voluntary Services. Check out what's happening in West Midlands Combined Authority. They've got lots of small grants coming through. And keep looking at the UnLtd website for possibly December, January, because some of you may qualify. I know Amrit came to get some top-up funding via the Grow It Fund. I want to speak to him. I did say to him, look at it again and give it a try. But the most I can say is, yes, keep doing what you're doing, network with each other, and share some of those ideas and those resources, because consortia working also is powerful. You may not be able to tender for a small contract because you don't have the enough turnover or enough capacity. If there's stuff you can get together on and 2 or 3 of you work together, do consider that as well, because that's a very effective way of moving forward. And I think that's it for me at this point.
I know not so many yet because it's been a little bit early stage, but the one other thing perhaps to add is just the fact that we will make sure that we give everybody the option to explore our UnLtd Connect mentors. We tend to signpost people through to that when they've a little bit more established, or there's something that they physically need, or they've got a clear ask. And I know Imrana, it's a shame she's not here to explain her kind of experience of that, but I know Imrana's had a very positive experience looking at her game design and one thing and another. She's had some specific support around promotion and also around IP and understanding how to protect her ideas, but also get some sort of legal advice as to what to do and what to worry about and what not to worry about. So there's an offer there that I will share in the next week or so, information about our UnLtd Connect offer. I've shared it with some people where it's been relevant, but we'll certainly, now that a number of organisations have evolved to some degree, there might be some follow-on support through that could be helpful for you as well.
And there's also the eBay support as well. I can't remember the woman who started selling the actual homemade, what's the term for it? Not jammed, it's the proper posh term for the industry. Confectionery is whatever.
Yeah.
But there's, because she's looking at growing, there's a chance to look at eBay, who we're looking at entrepreneurs who potentially can have a product or a service that they can sell online. That could be of interest. There's support there again with the development. Even though it's food as well, there's also money for innovation fund for her, because, and I think the LEP should have that information about innovation funding. So it looks about labeling, it looks about branding, it's about marketing. So depending what it is, there is help.
Yeah.
But certainly, I agree. The Unlimited stuff's got several things for mentoring as well as the legal advice you mentioned. So the mentoring may well be professionals who can look at your service and help talk you through how you could probably present, position it, brand it, market it. But very good help, worth looking into.
Fantastic. And I'm busy scrolling through my inbox. If I look like I'm pulling a face, I'm trying to find the link, and I don't know if you've got it, Victor. There is a celebration event coming up, isn't there? And I'm just looking for
On the 3rd of November, yeah.
3rd of November. I'll try and find the link and put it in the chat, or we'll be emailing out. You should have had emails anyway, but it's just a reminder that there's a national celebration. I think it's virtual. And
yeah, virtual it is.
And there's ways of reconnecting in with other people who've been supported in other parts of the country for that. So we'll make sure you've got that link. I've just seen Zuleika's joined us. Sorry, David, you were probably just about to speak there, but given Zuleika's just landed, and she's probably just getting a coat off. I don't know if you wanted to say a quick hello. I was just going to bring you up to speed, Zuleika, just to let you know, in that first hour, and we probably won't be here for another full hour. It was just, we've basically spoken on different people's behalf, just to give people a flavour for what people have been developing. So we did some introductions for various people we've supported, and we kind of spoke on your behalf. I went and found your lovely logo off your Facebook page.
Thank you.
To just highlight, what's been evolving for you. And I don't know if you just wanted to say, I guess, perhaps what some of what your next steps are in terms of where you've got to. I've highlighted the fact that things have evolved. You've been doing a bunch of training. You've been starting to sell your wares at Levenshulme Market. I wonder whether you might want to say a little bit about, what's prompted you to sell your stuff at Levenshulme Market and how that's been going, and how things are going with this. I know you've had some specialist training around developing a community sort of food business. I don't know if you wanted to just say a little bit about any of that before we invite Dave to say a bit about what's happening in One Walsall currently.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know why my video's not working. I don't know.
Don't worry, you fire away.
Well, hello everybody. I don't know if you all remember me, but and I'm sorry I'm late. Basically, yeah, I started off with the events, and it went really well, and I'm hoping to do more events as COVID, restrictions, get better. A lot of my stuff is sold at events, so that's where my main markets are. I'm currently doing a nutrition coaching course, I should say. So I'm hoping just to blend that in to my business, and hopefully, be able to work with the local community and offer services, if they need. And I'm hoping to, touch base with Arthur and once I'm all qualified and stuff, and see if we can get some activities or things running in the local community. I've got I'm getting my website done finally. Thanks for authorising that, Nicola. So that's getting done in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully that will allow people to order on my website as well, because there'll be an order page as well and a menu page. And yeah, that's about it really. I'm just carrying on, and I've had a few events, I've had a few orders, and I'm just working on little projects that I think will benefit the local community.
Yeah, and certainly I was singing your praises around your food. I know we've only had chance to bring your food in once or twice, but really great, so highly recommended with all of that. And well, thank you for joining us. And we have recorded this, so there's a bit of a listen again option, and I'd perhaps invite Dave to come on, because I know he's been patiently waiting to say a bit more about, I guess, the lay of the land with in One Walsall, and anything else you want to share with the group.
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd like to say is it's great to see the names, and to think that I think over half the groups you've talked about, I probably think 60% have actually engaged with One Walsall through this. So I think it's been a really good example of UnLtd and One Walsall working together to support the groups, and I think that's been really positive. I think as well, picking up on what Victor said, we had a meeting last week with a guy who used to work for a large business in Walsall, who's looking to do some work to support the voluntary sector through CSR over the next couple of months. And just listening to Victor and thinking about the cohort you've got here, I was going back to him anyway to talk about supporting young people, but this cohort might be perfect for him to pick up and try and link up some local businesses with the guys on this program to provide them with some sort of mentoring if we can identify with the individuals what areas of support they might need. This would give him a perfect opportunity to do that. So that's one of the things I'm going to do on the back of this meeting, is go back to this guy and say, well, I've got a cohort of about 12 groups who might be perfect if you can find mentors for them. Again, the marketplace event we've got on the 1st of December, I think would be really good for everyone to attend. And what's good is most people here have been through our One Walsall development tool, which is pretty similar to what you've done, Michaela, but it just measures where they are in their progress. And what we're currently doing is going back to groups we saw over 12 months ago to see how they've progressed. So it's actually sort of going back and seeing what progress they've made, and then where they haven't, sort of what are the issues. So it's probably picking up some of the things that you're picking up as well. But I think it's good that groups have got two lots of support from two lots of agencies who've got their back, sort of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with Victor. I mean, we work very closely with the other Black Country CVSs. So, but I think that you have got a good point there that yeah, it might be worth making connections with those other CVSs just to see what groups are operating there that they might be able to be linked up with.
Yeah, because there are some groups that are working further afield and some that are much more sort of localised. So for those that are working a little bit further afield, you know.
I think if those that are looking to work further afield want to get in touch with me and tell me, explain what they're doing and where they're looking to go to, I can send an email to the people in the other CVSs to see if they can sort of help make some of those links, or if they have got things like forums like we have, network forums, when they are, so that the guys here can know when and how to engage. So I can certainly do that, no problem at all.
Great.
Obviously, we still do our development work, our training. So I think some guys hit Ebony, I think definitely has attended several bits of our training. Hopefully she's found it useful. I think she's been to more than one.
It's very useful.
Hopefully that's a positive sign. But we're still doing training now. So anybody who hasn't accessed training, we've got a new training program coming up over the next couple of months. Yeah, and you know, we still do our e-bulletin. So again, there's lots of things in Victor mentioned about funding. So when we're aware of funding from anybody, we put it in our e-bulletin. So if any of you guys aren't on our e-bulletin mailing list, I think you probably are, but if you're not, I don't know about Zuleika from Pickle Shack, whether she is, but you know, we can put you on, and then that information, you'll get that as and when it comes out.
Yeah, it's always good to be linked to these sorts of things. Great.
Yeah, it's sort of business as usual.
I don't think I am, David. If you can add me, or shall I email you?
If you email me, if you go onto our website,
okay,
email me anyway, and I'll give you the link. But if you go on our website, on the homepage, there's a box where you can sign up to our newsletter.
Okay, thanks.
Good stuff. Arfan, did you want to add anything? I've got a bunch of bits and pieces I was going to look at in a second. If I just let you know what I'm thinking we might do for sort of the last 15-20 minutes or so. But I was just I'll come back to you in a sec, Arfan, because I know you were just settling back in after having a few tech things. I'm not sure, but somebody who's up for having a chat with you, or certainly open to being approached, Shamila Ahmed, she used to work for UnLtd for years, since gone on to be like a senior manager at the Community Foundation. And again, Community Foundation is another organisation that offers small grants. This is the Heart of England Community Foundation. There is one in Birmingham as well, isn't there? So looking at your options through the community foundations. ISE, I think I was just going to ask Zabina, I'm sure you linked with ISE at the start of your journey. I could be mistaken. I don't know if you're able to come off mute, but I've known of the ISE for a little while. I have called them to see if they could join a call here, but tonight, but they weren't available. And so they have various projects and programs. Oh, you're there, Zabina. Do you?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
You're fine. Am I dreaming, or I'm fairly sure you'd had some support from them at the start to help with your business planning and your idea development?
Yeah, I think what we found was for that program for us, for me and Safina, because it was running in line with when we also got signposted to UnLtd. There were some great tools, some great kind of networking, some ideas from other colleagues. So it was quite a useful program. But then obviously we were hit with COVID, weren't we? Yeah. And I think, for anyone that hasn't been on it, if they do get an opportunity, it is great for building links, ideas, and you get a mentor on there as well to give you some initial kind of direction. But the only thing I'd say is that we didn't with the mentoring, it's great that it's been mentioned again, because that's something that's, I think, when you're starting any new small business or a group, it's always great to have a mentor for a couple of years behind you somewhere just to go back to regularly. Whereas with that program, when it finished, I think that was kind of the end of the any support from it.
And it's just the way often a lot of these programs are either funded, or the way the networks develop, or the way cohorted programs sort of operate. I know through Flourish, whilst there's only so many hours in the day and we're quite a small team, we've purposefully developed a kind of peer network and ongoing events so that people can keep plugging back into stuff even after funded programs have finished. And I'm sure Dave, from what he's described, similar things going on there, so that things don't fall off a cliff. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast sometimes, but it's worth keeping connected to organisations like that, because they're very proactive, more so around the city of Birmingham, but in linking with news and information and other social entrepreneurs that you might want to connect with. Likewise, I've popped in, I've always been a champion of universities ever since I did that work with about 90 of them through some UnLtd work a while ago. I had a quick snoop to see what was going on, and we can talk about this again, but I just pulled up a link from Birmingham City University there. That link takes you to a whole bunch of things that are going on, and whether any of you are former graduates or students of a particular university, that's the first port of call. That there's instantly stuff that you can access through any of the Birmingham universities. Aston and University of Birmingham, they all grasp social entrepreneurship. They've all got colleagues and staff, and their enterprise and student and research teams have an understanding of this, and we'll be running conferences and support and stuff, sometimes specifically aimed at people who are on their staff teams or on their degrees and whatnot, but they'll often run more open events as well, so it's worth, where that's relevant for you, linking into that. It'd be lovely before the end of the programme, Arfan, it's just a prompt for me really to say if whether Margaret or someone from the local trust might come and link in with the group, and we can have a similar sort of follow-up chat. That might have been happening behind the scenes anyway, I don't know, but it'd be great to connect there. And obviously the local trust roll on and have all sorts of other great pieces of research, which I put a link to here, and other initiatives going on. And they also
got a wealth of support available, which I'll check. Is it open to social entrepreneurs? And I need to find out from them what's their kind of legacy, what do they want to see with social entrepreneurs, because they're doing a lot around incorporation, which these guys can have access to those training sessions. It's more about Big Local becoming incorporated, but I'm sure we can open it out to the group as well.
Can I just ask, Nicola, does UnLtd do like a conference where they might, for example, let people from around the country connect as entrepreneurs or people already established who have been really successful, and maybe invite some mentors in? Is that something they do maybe once a year or something?
Yeah, we do. Can I answer that, Nicola?
Go.
Yeah. we've launched the Connect and Share, which is something we're pushing, where it's exactly that. Entrepreneurs will connect, they'll be able to share ideas. We're also looking at where there's similar ventures whereby maybe someone's been doing it 2 or 3 years ahead of you, that kind of alumni, you're able to connect with them and talk directly. That's one thing we're encouraging, because the amount of knowledge that's available around the country, and even for what you're doing, you'll be surprised how many ventures started exactly the same as you, and they've grown now to be so successful. So yeah, I'll make sure you get that link so you can see when it's happening, so you can participate or join in.
Yeah, I was going to say the best route to those is through the UnLtd events page.
Okay.
But, you know, and I just, sorry, you probably got on your screen because I'm rambling around, but I'll put the link in the chat, and then at least it's there. And because the beauty of having been supported through a program like this is you get both local support and local connections and local mentors through the likes of Dave and Arfan, and, you know, moving into the more, you know, national options as well. We'll make sure that we look at helping you with that.
That's great.
I'm just going to stop screen sharing so I can see what I'm doing.
Nicola,
yeah.
am I okay to come in?
Please do. Yeah, go for it.
So this program is very similar to, you know about it, Nicola, because you're on email there, but it's with Lionheart Foundation. So some of the sessions I have is training sessions for the social entrepreneurs we're trying to create in schools. So we'll make sure that we extend that invitation to all of you guys as well. And you may want to become a mentor for some of those kids, or some of the businesses that are going to get involved. Because the secondary school, he's a really good head teacher, and what he's going to do is bring a lot of businesses in to come and see these kids presenting, and those businesses hopefully fund some of their projects. And then we'll see if we can do an instruction for you guys with those businesses to see if they wanted to support you as well. So there'll be specialisms in marketing, in all sorts of different areas. So it's all covered for that particular day. And the day is on, I think, 8th of December when it's happening. So I'll give you an invitation to that as well.
Great stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm just messing about here behind the scenes. I was just going to pull up, last but not least, something that I just wanted to do. Obviously, the only other ones I've not mentioned was the SSE. I mean, there's all sorts of agencies, but I've kind of flagged the SSE up there, which we've all probably come across and heard about. But it's just another reminder, because obviously Ebony's got onto the SSE program this time. I think Amrit's been on it before, and it's something to have in the back of people's minds, you know, as they progress, because having access to that cohort approach and the sessions that they run, and the, you know, the cash that is often attached to completing the program like that, you know, can be a helpful addition to what you're all trying to do. What I was going to do was just do a kind of a final sort of shout out. It's been happening as we go, as to kind of other organisations or other, screen sharing has stopped, that's okay. I've got my little sheet there and I'm just typing them out. We've mentioned a few people as you've been going. There was somebody called Angela Harvey. Oh, hello. Oh, my laptop's gone for me. I just wondered whether there were any other, Victor mentioned the CVSs, and I'll add those in. We can plug those in. I just wondered whether there are any other particular
kindness champions.
Your reception.
Michaela, kindness champions at Walsall Housing Group. We've got a whole team.
Let me pull this up. Share, see if it'll let me do that. I'll just see if it'll let me type. Yeah, here we go.
If you guys are happy, I can send you details out to everyone who attended that. So I know you were there. A couple of colleagues here were there. So we can send out your details to all of those organisations.
Yeah, and there's also, I'm just checking with somebody who I know. I don't know if any of you have heard of the organisation Tempo, but they're like a time banking and recruitment organisation, and they offer these credits. It's quite an interesting model, and I'm going to a session about it at the weekend, and I know a lady who's in the main team. I might invite her along to a future session, but there's some interesting stuff that I think, because there's quite a lot of you working with different people and volunteers, or there's other ways that people might want to plug into this. You can get credits that can be turned into purchases. It's that sort of time banking sort of option. So for any of our award winners or people that you're working with, either at One Walsall or in our own way through UnLtd, it could be a useful thing to plug into. Have you heard of that, either Victor or Dave?
No, I haven't, no.
It's really, I know you do a lot of your own sort of stuff around this anyway, Dave, but I'm just, where is it? I want to put a link in the chat that will...
You mentioned some time ago, but I'm not seeing anything about it.
Sorry, your reception's really weird, Arthur. Can you just say that again? Oh, are you there? No, sorry, we can't hear you, Arthur. I'm not sure what's what.
About 10, you mentioned it some time ago, but I've not seen anything about it. Maybe an interest.
Arthur, you're better off tapping into the chat, Arthur.
Yeah.
Type it into the chat.
I didn't make out any of that. Right. I'm just trying
The thing to put on there is a lady called Angela Aitken, and the project is called Making Connections.
Yeah.
Which is the Walsall Council project, which is all around supporting older people. So that would be useful, I think, for some of the guys here too.
Great.
And I can share her email address with people, no problem.
Fantastic. I'm just trying to do too many things at once behind the scenes there. Just bear with me. So I'm just putting a link in the chat. It's probably too short notice for some people because it's tomorrow, but there's a link to the Tempo Time Credit Network. They've got some event tomorrow where they're talking about it, but at least it'll give you the links to what it is and what it's about. And if it's something that's of interest, you can always follow up with them. And I'm going to try and get Sam, who I know there, to send me a bit more information for people that might find that of interest. I was thinking certainly for the likes of Ebony, Amrit and Savina, where you're working out in communities where actually having time credits for people that are doing stuff for you or with you could be a helpful thing. And
yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah, well, and it's a way of linking into private business, the private business market as well, to raise awareness with them of what it is you're doing. So Dave, sorry, I might have to ask you to say what you just said again.
Okay, the lady's name is Angela Aitken.
Yeah.
And the program that she runs is called Making Connections.
That's it.
Well, I can send
yeah,
stuff around to everyone about
Once
that.
I've got stuff down, I'll note it to follow up with it. And
Yeah. And the other one's, that's Angela Harvey. That's it, yeah.
And where was Angela Harvey based? Sorry.
She works for One Walsall, and she runs a project around well-being and keeping active.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okie doke. Any more before? I was just basically, it was just a few shout outs to, you know, if we're thinking of other legacy links that might be helpful for people. I have talked about this funny little diagram at the top where we do stakeholder engagement thinking, and we talk about mapping stakeholders. You know, we think about the public sector, the private sector, communities of place and interest, and the third sector, or, you know, our VCSE sector. You know, how long is a piece of, you know, with all of these contacts? But if there's anyone coming to mind who it might be helpful, we can.
You know, the Walsall business network.
Oh, sorry, Arfan, your internet's really iffy. I can't hear you.
I don't know if you hear me, but the Walsall business network is a.
Oh yes, the Walsall Business Network. Yeah, got that. Certainly, you know, inviting any of those people along to an event like this is, you know, as a way, it's getting the link in, isn't it? I know you can email information out to people so that they can try and attend some of this stuff, but plugging them in and seeing how also we might encourage some of that Walsall Business Network perhaps into some mentoring opportunities. I know it's something we've talked about and talked to Colleen about at one point, so we've still got a few months to have a think about that. Lovely. Well, I know everybody got sort of evenings and whatnot to get to. I wondered if any of our award winners that are here had got questions for people who are on the call. I thought I'd just check. Obviously, the Victor and David and whatnot have had a chance to ask you questions. I just wondered whether people have got any particular questions. I know it's been a long day.
Just one question. I think both Dave and Victor alluded to it, the idea that, you know, like for myself then, who I get referrals through the social prescribing service, one of the big difficulties I'm facing at the moment is really trying to get the NHS to pay. I know you mentioned that you're in talks and sort of, you know, what would you say for me as a company then, where that is a big proportion of our referrals practically going forward? I know it's a tough question. If there's anything, that would be great. I mean, yeah.
I suppose in a way, Ebony, it's really tough, isn't it? Because whilst you do it for nothing, they're going to be only too happy to pass referrals on to you. And in a way, you have to turn around and say, no.
Just have to
it's really difficult because we're desperate to get them to pay, to recognise that, you know, the voluntary sector needs paying. People doing these services need to be paid. But the problem is a lot of people will do them for nothing. And as a result, they won't see you know, if they can get it for nothing, that's what they'll do. And I think you have to play hard nose with them in a way. If they recognise your service, I think you have to turn around and say, if you want me to continue doing this, you're going to have to pay for it.
Well, we've helped 60 clients now, so I feel like, and then, you know, so yeah, okay, thanks for that.
Collecting some, I suppose the important thing is to collect the outcomes so that you can go back to them and say, I've worked with 60 people. This is what's happened to those 60 people. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
You know, I can't keep doing this for nothing. I need to make a living. You know, speak to me about sorting out a contract, and I'll continue to do it for you. Speak with us, link with us, and we'll see what. Have a discussion with some of my colleagues about the best approach to take.
Thank you, because I have tried with the social prescribers themselves, but they're not the ones that control the money.
No.
Yeah.
Link with me, Ebony. But my colleague Sarah Taylor, she's very closely linked in with health, and she works on a project called Walsall Together, and it's a bit of a talking shop really. But for 2 years now, she's trying to advocate exactly what you said. The money needs to come down to those people delivering the services, and unless we put the pressure back, and you're a perfect example. We need to feed what you're saying back through the routes that Sarah can do to say, this is what's happening on the ground. This is what is at risk, because these people can't keep doing this for nothing.
Thank you. Thanks. Because I mean, just today on the small social impact measurement, with those 60 people alone, you're talking like £30,000 that we've been able to acquire for them from sort of government grant funding. We've saved multiple. So, yeah, the information's there. I think my issue is trying to collate it in a way. Yeah. Saying, oh, I get up and dress now, where they weren't doing that before, and it's hard to kind of summarize that in an impact.
Let's have a discussion with you, myself, and Sarah.
Thank
Sarah
you.
will to help you sort of pinpoint the areas that you need to focus on.
And part of the session this weekend, before we wrap up, I know Amrit's just joined us, so I will come to you in a second, Amrit, give you a whistle stop what you missed. It's all been recorded, so don't worry. You know, David and Ebony there were just having a good chat around social prescribing. I don't know if Victor got anything to add on.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump in because I'll be talking over everyone. But no, what's happening is that Ebony, who have you spoken to in terms of getting in touch with them? How did you first gain access?
So they heard about us. They heard about us through, I was at every event at one point, and I think there was somebody who heard what we were doing, and then that was it. And I met first of all with a lady called Holly, and since then we're now working with the 4 districts. So I have about 6 social prescribers now. that refer to me. So we're on our way to about 100 in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. I'm working with someone from the NHS Trust charity side in Birmingham. I know they're doing some work with Sandwell, so I'll get back to you and give you some information on who to speak to. Because it's done through the clinical commissioners, but there's also heads of services within who have the influence. The other side of it is that one of the people we supported in, not Wellington, anyway, she basically, I put into a conference up north, and you may say why up north, but every NHS is doing a different approach. But the information got was very helpful, so I'm going to link you and her together. She'll tell you what she did, but she was now making a lot of progress with directly getting some of the social prescribing fees to be via her clients that she was assisting. So I'm going to go back to my earlier point. It's not about the money, it's about who has been allocated the money to spend. And usually that the client has a right to ask for their money to be spent in a particular way. Hence why I said to you, going through the doctors' surgeries and finding what the managers are is very helpful, because they can refer some of their patients to you with the money following specifically.
Victor, sorry, are you talking about direct payments here? Because that direct payments is very different from social prescribing.
Well, the social prescribing is effectively, you talk about payment regardless, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, social prescribing it's about directing people to services that can help them. So there's not usually any money attached to it, to the patient as such.
No, but I'm saying it's directing people to the service. So if everybody's a service and they're being directed to her, then yes, she gets paid.
Sorry, I missed the last bit you said, Victor, sorry.
I'm saying if it's about directing people, if the people are directed to Ebony's service, then yes, Ebony's getting paid.
Well, this is a problem, isn't it? Because that money isn't travelling that way. The money goes to the social prescribers, but it doesn't go to the actual person who's doing the service. That's what we're trying to make happen.
I'll get you the information, then you can see what pathway they followed as a route, because I can talk about it.
I do think it's a big barrier though, because when we I'll be really interested to get that information, Victor, because to be honest with you, I've been in many meetings where they're like, yeah, this is how it is. There's been one or two where they're like, I think over time. So yeah, if you could get that information, that'd be great.
Over in Birmingham, we've actually supported 4 of our entrepreneurs to be commissioned to deliver and develop specific pieces of work. And it's still going through the clinical commissioners, but it's how each NHS decides to work. Really? But as I said, I get the information, and then you can have a look at what's happening, because they do communicate with Sandwell, the Black Country specifically, and that's where they're based with. So that information will be straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and they can tell you who to speak to within the actual service.
And I was hoping that before I wrap up in December with people, if we end up doing another Legacy Links conversation like this, I've been Googling today and I've tracked down somebody. There's this innovation unit as part of the kind of Midlands NHS something or other. And so I gave them a call today and looking at tracking down some guy called Ash Carvelli, who's a people and engagement manager. I think if we can find someone strategic who can just come and often that, you know, they say one thing and how it is on the ground can often be quite different. But if we can go in through the route of saying, you know, we've got these interesting ventures, some of them are quite established now, they're being commissioned and they're being funded through the lottery and various other means, and they're wanting to better understand the routes to commissioning, you know, not going saying buy in our services, but show us how to navigate your systems. We might, you know, it's a 2 or 3 pronged attack, isn't it? To kind of try and make something stick sometimes.
Yeah. So, well, we've had 4 commissioned over here in Birmingham, so that's been quite successful, hence why I know it does work, yeah.
Well, it'll be helpful to see those case studies, and we'll follow up on that bit to where we can. I'm conscious we don't need to go on till 6 because we've got various sort of things going on with our evenings, but I know Amrit's just joined us, and I'm conscious I was just going to perhaps end on a bit of Amrit. I was just going to just flag up 2 things before I ask Amrit to come on and say hello if he can. I'm not sure what his setup is, so look at what you could have won, Amrit. We've basically run through, done a bunch of introductions on both sides. I've kind of walked us through different people that we've supported and where we've got people here in the room. Obviously, they've been able to speak for themselves and introduce themselves a little bit further. We've had some good kind of updates from Victor and David and our fans talked as well about some wide opportunities, and it's obviously sparked food for thought on a few other things as well, and some other connections. We've started mapping some other people of interest that we'll get the details for and share information around there. So we've done a bit of mapping at the same time as sort of sharing and showcasing things. There's some bits and pieces in the chat about some other events and opportunities, and that's where we've got to so far. I'm just going to stop sharing one thing to just quickly show you, and a quick reminder and a quick decision making on what we do this weekend. So this weekend from 10 till 2, we've got another sort of peer support and kind of workshop day. These are the topics that we're going to be discussing. So kind of, because everyone's at different stages, another bit of a conversation and a recap around income generation, funding bids, and I've got quite a practical session planned to look at some, give people time to physically work on a few things, whether that's researching where they want to apply to, or whether that's reviewing and looking at bids that may or may not have been successful or that are in the pipeline. So we can do some review and some practical stuff there. We're going to be looking, one of the things that stops people getting their money or stops people having a good case is the fact that they haven't done enough PESTLE research. They've not, and I'll go through all of that. So helping you work out, getting the proper data together that demonstrates why there's a real need, both practically, locally, nationally, and strategically, for what it is you're doing and asking them for. And I can walk you through how you strengthen that and where you find credible information from in each case of what you're running, so that you leave no stone unturned. And then, just as Ebony was saying there, we have touched on impact measurement here and there throughout the year in different ways with different people, but I've got a short sharp workshop on that really sort of nails how you can do that from a standing start, and how to develop your own key value indicators, so that you're not always lurching from one funder to another, and you develop a consistent evidence base for what you're doing as well. So that's something that we're looking at, and I'm putting this thing together called a bid canvas. It'll get covered in this sort of bid stuff, but there's the business development canvas that we've looked at before, and we can pick that back up if that's relevant this weekend for people. But because everybody's quite hot on looking at possible funding options and things at the moment, I was going to look and walk people through how they get all their ducks in a row, basically, to be able to respond to funding calls and what content they need. And some of you will have some of this because you've written and done bids before, but we'll walk through getting it all in one spot so that you've got everything together. And for those people that are newer to this, that they'll be going in with their eyes open, so that when they start looking at these things, they'll have things together. So that's the plan. I've got to say, but come off mic and tell me what you prefer. Having listened and seen emails about who can and can't make this weekend, my gut feeling is to perhaps do it via Zoom. I did want to come down, and I can come down, and we can be in a room, but we've got 3 or 4 people who can Zoom in, and we've got 3 or 4 people who can physically be there and or Zoom in. So I'm thinking we've got a better chance of getting 6 or so people together if we do it through Zoom, and you'll have access to your laptops and information that if you're doing research, or if you're looking at reviewing things and using some of that time to physically do stuff via Zoom, we can still create breakouts and we can still give people time to have conversations and so forth. But my gut feeling is to do it through Zoom.
Yeah, I think that sounds okay, actually, Michaela, because I think they're usually very, very clear conversations, and we get a chance to share links and information. Sounds okay for me.
I know Ebony preferred Zoom, I think, if she was available. I think Safina can do Zoom. Deb can do Zoom, and Amrit, I don't know. Last but not least, how are you? What do you want to do this Saturday? And,
I'm really sorry for joining late as well.
No, don't worry,
I've just walked in from we were doing the school partnership games, and I'm feeling really under the weather as well.
Sound a bit croaky there. Yeah. You'll last for the weekend to join us on Saturday. Time will tell. But
what's happened is I was outside for 4 hours delivering Tai Chi sessions to kids. So
at least you've had a sunny day for it.
Oh God, it was freezing cold. It was
Oh,
really
was it?
absolutely cold. Yeah. So, and when you're doing Tai Chi, it actually it takes a lot of energy away from you.
Yeah.
So I've just got to rest now. My legs are really hurting.
Oh,
I'm getting old.
Lovely, good. Just on the point of view of Saturday, would Zoom be a? I know it's not.
Zoom's a lot better for me at the moment. I won't be able to make it until 12 though, because I've got some other commitments. I've got to take my son to football, etc. as well.
That's all right, because we'll be covering a few other bits actually in the morning, going through practical reflections and on bids and looking at different options of funding and stuff. So we'll be looking more around impact measurement by the time you join us at 12. And if we're on Zoom, we may even get to, you can be a little bit more cost effective with your time, so we might even get to finish a bit earlier. We'll see how we go, but I certainly don't want to scrimp your support time, and I'm there 10 till 2. I've got a series of things that I think sounds like they're sort of critical for where people are at the minute, and we'll kind of create time to go through a whole bunch of things and create some conversations. So we'll see how we do with that. I was just going to say, obviously you joined us here, Amrit. We did speak on your behalf about where you're at, what you've been up to and whatnot, but I just wondered, while we've got Victor and David here for the call, whether you wanted to just give your own quick update on how things have been going with MetaMinds and where you're at currently, and if there was a key need from wider agencies, what you foresee it being, perhaps for social entrepreneurs.
Well, I wouldn't like to say I was okay, but I'm just plodding on, to be honest with you. And I think what I've decided to do with the company right from the very beginning is just not become dependent on funding. And so I charge for my services, and you know, if I get funding, that's fantastic. I'll take that. And the other thing is, I'm not just going out there to get funding. No. It's got to be the right pot. So I did some crowdfunding via Walsall Council, got that, and that was fantastic. As a result, I also got some funding via Sandwell Adult Learning to deliver the same course, which has widened my reach as well. And that will give me some track record to then go on, probably get something from West Midlands Combined Authority as well. So there's lots of stuff going on. But what I was interested in the conversation about the commissioners, you know, the clinical commissioners, because I've got a meeting not next week, the week after, with some of the social prescribers in Walsall. On the course that I'm running around open wellbeing, and it's going to be a fantastic meeting, hopefully. But it's not. Again, it's just about referrals. It's not about how they can actually support me as an organisation via funding. So I think I have to go to the source, and that's where, you know, you make friends with the commissioners, and you know they you know, you become part of their you know, I'll get on their radar. And I think at the moment I'm getting more luck and more traction from Sandwell. So I can kind of echo what Victor's saying, that they seem to be, I don't know why, but just seem to be a bit more visible.
You missed a really good conversation that David had, really sort of backing up the fact that they've been working for some time to really lobby for dare I say, better practice, more ethical practice, or at least recognition of, you know, you can't keep referring people through to services that are there without paying for those services to exist. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't work.
But Nicola, I think there's a bigger issue. I think the reason why we're not visible is because I don't know if Ebony can echo this, but we haven't got a place where we can call our own, and it's become difficult. That our overheads become really kind of difficult, in a sense of, you know, if we get a place and we're seeing in the community in terms of basing ourselves somewhere, we sometimes we become a bit more credible. But I think it's difficult because our visibility is like delivering workshops, word of mouth, and using community centres, which is fantastic. But I know, and I was talking to someone about this, and I think we, as in Walsall, I think what we need is a place which houses all of these kind of services, these like incubator units that, you know, there's so many units that are free. Why can't we sit in one and do, you know, a group of us and work collaboratively, and you know, etc. So I think it's
a really good point, isn't it? And sometimes it takes a few years of people evolving what they're doing to be ready to do that. And the timing for that sort of things feels quite quite, you know, quite, I don't
Like
know,
a hub. That
things
sounds
that- yeah.
about
But I think the stage that you're all at now, yeah.
But yeah, like a hub.
I think, Amrit, because obviously Walsall has had money for town centres and also blocked which, and I'm sure some of the plans that the council have got is for exactly that,
Fantastic.
incubator units or new business. So I mean, I don't know how quickly this is all going to happen. I know that the funding's been agreed, but I suspect the way things are happening at the moment, it's going to be a few years before you see the results. But it's largely capital spend, so it is about buildings, and I'm sure exactly what you've described is what's on the cards.
So my next venture is actually looking at putting together an urban retreat, which is permanent. Believe it or not, in Walsall, that's what I'm looking at. So getting a bit of land somewhere so I can actually house some of these therapies, and even with Ebony's service, you know, have somebody there actually sorting somebody's finances out. Is part of all the cleansing process as well.
And this weekend, there's ways of us talking around some of that stuff, and obviously what Dave's talking about there, you know, future stuff. You've got to kind of weigh up how long things take and who's involved in all these things. But what you described there and the potential for where you're at with things sounds like, you know, reaching communities partnership bid, or you know, there's options to kind of build towards what you want to do to test ways of working together and help also, you know, Dave and his team there are sort of, you know, I wouldn't say hands tied, but, you know, banging their heads against walls, trying to push certain things through. If they've got active social entrepreneurs and community businesses and others in the community pushing forward, it gives them backing.
You're absolutely right. What we've always struggled to get is groups to come and say what the issues are, because we can say this is what the problems are, but we need real people, you know, like Ebony, to say, I've worked with 60 groups, I've got nothing for that. You know, how do you expect me to survive? I'm providing a really good service, I've made all this difference, and yet you think you can get it for nothing? We need those messages to be fed back to commissioners. And like I said earlier, whilst groups do that money do those services for nothing, they won't get paid.
Well, at least you've seen tonight, Dave, you've got a feisty bunch of proactive doers who aren't actually relying on funding. I know we've talked a lot about that tonight, but you make a good point there, Amrit, that although we're talking about funding this weekend, it's because certain people need to have a think about that. But we're also we've looked a lot at, you know, wider income generation strategies, and you know, that is ultimately the key around this, because it gives you the autonomy to push it ahead. And Victor made some really good points around, you know, corporate engagement. Well, you've got to be careful with that and find the right ones and watch their ethics and you know, their agendas. You know, in the current climate, a mixed approach and a mixed partnership approach is always going to be key.
I was going to say there, just a quick one on that point, because I know one thing that if you're going to be a good social enterprise, you're going to have a good sustainability plan. You've got to have a business plan, basically, because whether you like it or not, you become a business. Once you've got a CIC or whatever, companies ask for an annual report. The HMRC is looking for your annual, companies now through the CIC regulators looking for your annual reports. HMRC is looking for your annual accounts. So it is serious, but the good mixed approach when you're starting out is important. You used to have things like Funding Central. Now they've closed down, but they've not really closed down. They've put a new coat. If you look at the website, you'll find you can register, but they have a range of funding available. When you're starting out, those fundings are really critical. So I'd say to you that the government's realised there's lots of needs in the community. You've mentioned a couple of the people, such as Hart, Michaela. There is funding. So I'm saying to people, go and register on the site. It's not Funding Central anymore. I think it's called something else funding. But you can type in what your service is. You type in what kind of funding you're looking for. They'll filter through, but you will then find there's lots of small pockets of funding available between now and next year. It's worth applying for and getting it. If you do have a plan, as Amory said, you're looking about being actually income generating. Yeah, look at the business you're involved in, because I think sometimes people think I'm developing a community service, but it is still a business. You've got to be able to go and find some food and water on your table when you get home for yourself after you've fed the world. But really do look at ensuring that if you are have a legal status, do look at chasing the funding which is available now, because there's small pockets of funding coming out. You need to be ready for it. Applying for it is worth applying for.
And that's certainly what we'll look at the weekend to a point. And I've Googled, if you find what they're called, Victor, and if you want to put them in the chat, that'll be fab. I saw myself that closed. Conscious that we've kind of we've been on for a good hour and a half or more, and we've pretty much got to the end of our event, really, in terms of what we're up to. We've made a decision that we're doing Zoom on Saturday, so I will email everybody in the morning and give them a link and work that through. Any final thoughts as perhaps if we have Jeremy Springer's final thoughts as we wrap up the session? Don't know whether our award winners have got any thoughts on either what they made of this evening or what, you know, a key thing that they're perhaps focusing on next that we can bring to tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Saturday. Using a day.
And this was really, really useful, Michaela, because I think sometimes we, you know, because we've got so used to, especially me during COVID, like you do email people, or you might make a phone call, or you may not get a response, you know, initially, but actually it's food for thought. When you talk to people, it gives you that motivation again to actually go out there and start linking in again and talking to people. So it was really good to have Victor and obviously David here to give us some of that direction, which was brilliant. It's been really useful for me. It's really got me thinking again.
Cool, and we'll hopefully see you and Safina on Saturday and get some more planning and look at some stuff. Cool. Anybody else? Ebony, has it been worth your while dialing in?
100%. Thank you so much. I've got a lot of notes written down, eagerly awaiting certain dates, and it's really encouraging to hear that some have been commissioned as well, because I'm still hopeful, and that partnership working and everything, and that's what I love about these group meetings. Like, there's so much you can get out of so many big brains and knowledgeable people together. So yeah, really encouraging. So thanks a lot.
Well, we'll certainly build on that on Saturday, and there's nothing stopping us having a look and thinking through how partnership approaches might work for certain things. Fab. Zuleika, are you all right there? I know you've kind of various things on and you've not been able to come off video because it's not happening today, but has it been worth dropping in?
Yeah, it's been good to catch up with people anyway, and it's good to hear all the things that they're doing, and you know, hopefully in a few months' time I'll be able, you know, once I'm qualified.
I think you're all evolving, and yours is a very business driven sort of model as well, which is great. And you're not there Saturday, I know, because you're busy selling at Levenshulme Market. So if I'm on Zoom, I might be able to leg it down before the end.
Oh yeah.
Save me some pickles.
I'm actually not doing pickles this week. I'm actually doing street food, healthy street food.
Ooh, right.
So yeah, because I did that an event in Walsall and it went down really well. So I'm doing some like hot food.
Right then. Well, I know it finishes at 4, so if I can get off at 2, I might leg it down and see what's left.
Yeah, brilliant.
Excellent. Okie doke, good stuff. Fantastic. And Amrit, I know you were just kind of popping in really, but great that you could say a little bit more than I was able to say on your behalf, and start thinking around those wider, not even start thinking, continue the conversation around social prescribing and partnership working. But has it been worth popping in, and anything you specifically want us to focus on at the weekend?
No, definitely, Michaela. It's really, no, thank you so much for organising these events, because at the end of the day, it gets us together and gets us thinking. But I think picking up on a point that David made is that I think all of us really need to get together, and you know, us kind of social entrepreneurs, and really kind of think about where we want to lobby and what we want to lobby Walsall Council about, and really put something towards to the council and say, look, we're all from Walsall. We're all representing one Palfrey Big Local, and we need these are some of the issues that we're having. Listen to us.
Yeah.
And I think there's an appetite there, and I think we need to kind of keep that impetus going.
Definitely. And I think Saturday, the first bit before you come, Amrit, we'll be looking at funding and bids and reviewing. I know Zabina and Safina have got a specific bid that they'd like to look at. I'll check with you, Zabina, whether you're happy for me to sort of use that as a case study. I was going to use your bid as a case study to walk through, potentially, or I've got others that we can look at and walk through, and or we can review.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I think it'll be really good because obviously, as you know, one of ours we got refused. So sometimes it gives you feel a bit like down, but then you start to realise what the reasons might be, or and like learning how to handle refusals and setbacks.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, there's a bit of stuff that we'll cover that morning, and then we'll take a bit of a break. We'll have we'll be looking at sort of impact measurement and what, if by using this data, then what it can create, and look at the partnership options that can then lead towards, and look at the types of criteria out there for some of these larger partnership bids, so that you guys can be thinking and positioning yourself around what you would want to have in place, and how you go into engaging partnerships with people, so that you're not, no one comes a cropper, because that can happen. And thinking about getting through that impact measurement workshop we've got, even if you all, I mean, some of you've got some of this data already, but even if you've got a slightly more articulate way of your top 5 key impacts, and we could show you how you calculate some figures around some of that stuff, where there's financial proxies, and we can help you do that. That could be helpful for Dave and others to say, here's 4 or 5 ventures that have got, here's just the highlights of some of what they've delivered in the last year to 18 months alone. It might all just tie in to be helpful in pushing things forward there. So lovely. Well, I think I'm going to say good evening, good night. I'm going to go and check on my child, leg it into Manchester, feed the cat and all that stuff. And wish you all good evenings, and we'll catch up. We'll see those of you that can on Saturday, and we'll catch up with others around the edges of all of that. But our fans texted me a minute ago, as we could hear his Wi-Fi went very weird and his internet's dropped out altogether. That's his excuse. I do believe him though. And we'll see you all. We'll see you all very soon, and hope that people that are listening to this on catch up have been able to make good use of it, and can just email us and drop in on what they need to catch up on, or what they need support with.